Hey, Ringside Collectibles and WrestlingFigures.com fans, welcome back to Ringside Fest 2021. You've seen some reveals. We've had some major surprises. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't watched the previous videos, but make sure you go watch them. Either way, we're back here with the annual Ringside Fest Q&A. I'm here with Bill Miekina. I'm here with Steve Ozer. They're going to be answering some of your fan-selected questions. So we'll start with the general questions. Very first question. You've renewed your deal with WWE. So the Mattel and WWE partnership will continue. Because of this, does that mean Mattel will have bigger plans for the WWE line now that they've signed a new multi-year deal? What should we expect?
You know, I wouldn't say bigger plans because we've never taken our foot off the gas. We've been full steam ahead with everything we've been doing. But we'll be exploring, new ways to get more product out there, different form factors, different sublines, and all that stuff will always evolve, right, to suit the needs in the moment of retail and of collectors' tastes. So I think you'll just continue to see an evolution of things, without a huge dedicated toy store like a Toys R Us. I don't think you'll see a massive expansion of any toy line, but we're always going to find ways to make cool things happen.
Constant improvement, I think, is what you'll see. Even from the start of the line, I think you've seen the product just get better and better, and it's something that we have to, because the competitors are they're there and they're nipping at our heels and they're putting out very good product as well. So in order to be competitive, you got to always update and improve your line, and we will continue to do so because the contract is renewed.
And let me give the design team some credit here. Pinless double jointed elbows on elites, pinless double jointed knees slowly rolling out whenever we do new legs. Swappable heads across all elites now is a thing. You're probably going to see that on basics as well. Swappable heads. Butterfly shoulders on Ultimate Edition. We're cooking up a few little innovations on Ultimates going forward as well, beyond what you're seeing already. So, the design team is on it and making these figures the best they can possibly be. Not to mention the crazy astronomical deco on these elites and Ultimates that are, unbeatable.
We appreciate you guys, and I'm really thrilled that the partnership's going to continue, and looking forward to seeing more Mattel WWE figures as time goes on. You mentioned kind of stepping on the gas, and one of the big indicators of stepping on that gas for me has been the Ultimate Edition line. This is like just an extremely popular line. Everyone is always talking about it, expecting new things and seeing what's going to become of it. As of right now, there's only 2 figures per wave. But the next question that somebody had, could we expect more Ultimate figures a year because of the popularity, or are you continuing to look to keep them limited so they have that kind of exclusivity?
I think you're going to continue to see 2 figures per wave. There is a chance at some point we have more waves in a year, perhaps. And you're already seeing sublines of Ultimates with various exclusives and whatnot. And maybe even a ringside exclusive someday of Ultimates. So you're going to see an expansion, but maybe not more figures per wave.
Is it possible to see Ultimate Edition 2-packs? Would that be likely at all?
It's totally a possibility. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally a possibility. There was almost a 2-pack coming up here soon, but it just didn't work out.
Knowing that popularity and knowing the reception that Ultimate Edition figures have received, could we expand to see some? Could we expand to see some more names in the line? So right now we've seen mostly really legendary names like The Rock, Hulk Hogan. We've seen the Ultimate Warrior. Could we see more folks that maybe aren't on that super huge legendary level yet, but are working that way in the main line and on the main shows at the moment, like an AJ Styles or a Seth Rollins? Could we see Ultimate Edition figures of those types of characters?
Well, yeah, I mean, AJ and Seth would be amazing Ultimate figures, right? And to me, it's just a matter of time of when, those 2 in particular would appear. But as far as, delving deeper into the roster of talent. I think you've seen with how we figured out a way to get a Doink the Clown Ultimate out, that we're always going to look for opportunities to go into the roster a bit deeper. So I think over the course of the next year or so, you'll see maybe that expand just a little bit more, with some additional opportunities to get some of those, more world building talent out there.
Steve, you have referenced before a lot of times about the scale of the Ultimate Edition figures and how they feel kind of heavier in hand. And it's very clear that the tooling that's gone into it is part of the reason it is that way. So if you have like a mix of Ultimate Edition and Elite lineups, like they could look even more in scale than some of the Elite figures do of some of those bigger guys. So if we do start to see Elite figures of maybe some that are smaller in stature, like an AJ Styles or a Seth Rollins, would that require some new tooling to make sure that they remain in scale and don't look kind of like too big when compared to an Elite counterpart or anything like that?
That's the plan, is when the Ultimate, we really mean Ultimate. And if that means that we need new legs to, let's just say like Rey Mysterio is too tall in Elites. Let's just say, I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying, if that's an instance where, if it turns out that that's the case in Ultimate, we're going to make sure that the match is as exact and accurate as possible, which involves new tooling. We debut a lot of new tooling in the Elite line, and luckily sometimes that can migrate over to other lines to help improve those lines as well. But yeah, we always looking to build our Ultimate tool base to make sure that the figures are as accurate as possible.
They're really durable, and they have some great playability with all their interchangeable parts. So we did get a question from a fan asking if it would be possible to see more parts to be able to be interchanged like this in the main Elite line. So maybe you're swapping an Ultimate Edition head for some of your favorite Elite figures with a swappable head. Some of that tooling doesn't necessarily speak to the interchangeability as much as maybe the Ultimate Edition line. Could we see some of that carry over into the Elite line?
That is the reason why we changed the head pin in 2021 on a lot of our figures to be interchangeable, so that if you have a head on a figure that you really like, you can interchange it with other outfits of the figure, whether it is an Elite, an Ultimate, or a basic. So there is some of that thinking about, at least with the heads, that if you have an Ultimate head, you can put it on an Elite figure, a basic figure, as you subsequently purchase those figures in different outfits and updates.
Sounds to me and looks to me, with just the points you're making,
especially with the new DI, the True Effects heads, they are a definite improvement over heads we've done before. So if you have an older figure and want to go back and put a new updated DIJ head on it, we want to make that process as easy as possible.
With the success of the crowdfund of the new generation arena, and congratulations on that, by the way. I know that was a major effort and a lot of work went into that for both of you. So first and foremost, I'd like to say congratulations for that. But
special congratulations to Steve and Robert, because they did a phenomenal job of banging the drum on that and getting people to support it. Heroic work on their behalf.
Thank you. I mean, you gave us something great to push, right? You gave us great product to push, so.
Excellent. Really exciting. And yeah, definitely congratulations. Yeah, for sure. And I think
things come together like
that. with that coming together like it has, I think that some of the excitement and the questions that were being asked, one question is, what's on the table for future crowdfunding? There's so many ideas kind of floating around there at the moment among the fan base. Could we see this happen with partnerships beyond Mattel Creations? Could this lead to you utilizing Mattel Creations for individual figures? So some of those deeper roster choices that we may not see in the Elite line could maybe happen here. More collector-oriented names. And then beyond that, obviously, this was the new gen arena is a playset, right? So are there modern or classic arenas and playsets in the future?
From a crowdfunding standpoint, I think we're going to stay away from straight up figures only, right? If we can do a figure, if we have rights to a figure, we're going to do our best to figure out a way to release the figure as just a figure offering, right? I don't think we need to crowdfund an action figure. So you'll see crowdfunding reserved for things that maybe aren't accomplishable at retail, or even your traditional, e-com, e-tailer type establishment. So it'll be play sets, larger items, things like that. As far as what we can do next, I mean, we were in the weeds talking with you collectors directly throughout that entire campaign. So we know what you've been vocal about, and we're obviously discussing deep into discussions of what could be next. And all of your requests are, they're not being taken lightly. We're aware of them. We know what you want, and that's what we want to deliver. Something that the fans have been asking for.
Yeah, if something sells really well, that is an indicator that there is demand for that sort of product, and obviously this is a case where that would apply.
I don't want to let you off too easy. Any chance at a time frame, like a Q time frame, like Q something of something that we could know some more news on this? But
on the next item,
yeah.
I mean, there'll be other items, of course, retros, right? Retros will be on Mattel Creations as a straight up sale. And there'll be other items throughout the year that go on sale as well on that site. And as far as crowdfunding goes, we would hope to do something again next year, right? So when you think about the big milestones for us and for WWE, you could probably guess at a few points of the year where there might be announcements on things like a huge project like a crowdfund execution.
Any thoughts or plans for releasing older figures with sought after attires with usage of the updated technology? So I know we've shown a few of those in the reveals today, including that like you said, that Bret Hart that's been updated in the WrestleMania set. There was another one that I'm not thinking of, but is this going to be something that happens more regularly now that we are seeing it, and we did see it in some of the reveals today?
In the past, the thinking was to have each outfit sort of be something new, but now the thinking is we've done this for 10 years, and I think our line in particular has gotten a lot more popular within the last few years. In an area of time in which a lot of the most iconic outfits of a lot of the superstars of the past haven't been available at retail, whether it's brick and mortar, online, e-com. So yeah, there is definitely thought to sort of bringing some executions of outfits and figures from more toward the start of the line, and do like an updated double elbow version, DIJ face art version, stuff where it's an obvious even if you have the previous version and you bought it 10 years ago, you're going to want this better version.
Yeah. The figures have come such a long way, especially as of late. Like, it'd be great to get some of those early Mattel executions with the double jointed arms and with true effects, facial deco, or even new heads. Maybe things have improved. Sculpting has improved. I think I mentioned this before, but I would love to see that WrestleMania 7 defining moments Macho Man done again as an Ultimate Edition at some point. And that to me is still a masterpiece figure, but I think we've come such a long way that Bill can knock it out of the park, even more so than he did the first time around.
If I'm being honest, yeah, I mean that particular figure holds a special sentimental place for me, just because of the circumstances around it. Just will never be repeated. But again, that was 10 years ago. That's only that particular outfit, which was very special, very visually appealing, and very meaningful, was only available, it was like a decade ago. We've had a lot of new people come into our collecting our line that haven't had a shot at a WrestleMania 7 Randy Savage figure. So yes, that is definitely something that when you're considering like who are we putting in lines, what outfits are we going to execute them in, that is one that sort of it does bubble up to the top.
I'm active on the forum, so I've seen lots of other requests, several Bret Hart requests, and some others. So Randy's just the example here, but that theory is open to lots of superstars.
That's honestly, that's the reason we did the Shawn Michaels for the WrestleMania Elite Wave this year in the retirement match outfit. That was a figure we did before, but it was a limited edition basic exclusive. So it's the chance of somebody having that is very small, and it's a very significant outfit, and it was never available as an elite. So the thinking is, even if you have this from before, it's a better version. And then if you never had it, now's your chance to get it now.
So we've seen the release of lots of ECW championships, with the main championship being released with, I believe, Terry Funk. We now have seen the television championship released, and even with the RSC exclusive Cactus Jack, ECW Cactus Jack, we have the ECW Tag Team Championship there. Could we see? There's been multiple iterations of those titles, however, with some different looks over time. We've now seen those versions, which are, I would say, probably some of the more popular ones. Could we see some of the ones that maybe aren't as known, maybe a little bit deeper of a cut?
It comes down to rights. If we have rights to do versions of titles, we'll do them. So that those titles are created by belt makers. So if WWE or Mattel has a deal in place or owns particular rights for versions of titles, we will absolutely prioritize trying to make those happen. Like, titles have become a priority for us as of late of getting to a lot of these unreleased titles. We know how much excitement that drives. So, I don't remember specifics. That's why I'm being a little vague in this particular answer, because there are titles available to us. Some aren't, and I just don't remember off the top of my head what is and isn't. But if it's available, we will absolutely try to get it out sooner rather than later.
And also consideration is what figure is going to come with that title. Sometimes it's not always the easiest. You have a particular title that you want to release, but having a relevant talent to match it with is a challenge, because the most obvious choice might not be under a WWE merchandise deal.
We've seen different versions of different WCW championships, updated versions of those. Obviously, so much demand for these. With the classic championship titles that have been made, is there room for a new championship title accessory pack that kind of includes all these, or would you see these remaining with the individual figures?
We have to work with our retail partners, and there's got to be interest from all parties involved to bring something like that out. And if it's the right moment in time, we can totally dive back in again and explore title packs, right? Especially now that we have so many more that we've done as of late. So it's just timing and opportunity, and we know that you guys have asked for them. So if we could find the right spot, maybe we'll do some themed title packs again.
So we're going to shift now from the general questions, I think, and dive a little bit deeper into some of the talent questions. And this is considering modern day talent, legendary talent, pretty much everyone under the sun. Obviously, folks want to know who's coming when, but I've tried to choose some questions that are geared a little bit more specifically to maybe some aspect of that I think you can answer a little more directly. So first things first, I'd like to ask, where do we currently stand on Legends figures? Obviously, we have the ongoing retail line. We see them pop up in the elite lineups. So it doesn't seem to me like they're off to the side or anything like that. But folks are wondering if we can still see more first time in the line Legends. Are new Legends figures in general still an important part of the Mattel WWE relationship? And is this something that you're still working towards making sure is part of your lineups?
Absolutely. I think I've been vocal about this. We want to make that happen. It is a different world from where we were years and years and years ago with the classics line, of course, right? So things probably can never go back to what that was, but we're still pushing for more Legends. We've already, and I mentioned this, we've added China and Mr. T and several other Legends recently. And in the Legends line itself, you'll have at least 2 new first time in the line Legends coming in 2022. So these signings are happening. It might not be as fever pitched in frequency as it was over 10 years ago, but it is a priority for us. We know who you want. We want those same Legends in the line and to be available to us. and we'll continue to work with WWE to make those things happen. And, you know, as I mentioned, you know, there've been signings, you know, in the last few years, and there are new ones that we're utilizing in 2022. I mean, we made the Goon, we made Chief J Strongbow, Michael Hayes, Greg Valentine. So it's not like they're not something we're shying away from.
It involves someone who's technically, I guess, like still a modern WWE performer, even though he's recently retired. You know, it just shows how deep, you know, we're digging pretty deep on these because we know that, you know, the collectors do appreciate the deep cuts.
Yeah, there's an open-mindedness to it that you guys have for sure, and I think that definitely shows with some of the things we just saw revealed, and hopefully for what's in the future as well.
Yeah, there's definitely more planned like that, I can guarantee.
So next question, NXT 2.0, we've seen the revamp, it's in full swing. There's some breakout talents that have been featured there, like Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes. How soon will we see talents like this? And is there a place for them in the main line? Is NXT 2.0 going to have just, you know, it's clearly has its own vision on TV. Would this have its own vision amongst the action figure line? What do you think?
I mean, they're on our radar. Those talents you just mentioned more, like we do discuss them. They could appear anywhere. They're great fits for anything, whether it's an exclusive segment or, you know, a single exclusive figure offering or multi-pack or you know, mainline. Don't know. They're great fits for all the above. We just have to find the best slot for them where they make sense within, you know, the scope of the entire line. And I think you'll see those guys, right? You'll see those guys at some point. We always want to do first time in the line figures in elites and basics for sure. So they could be great new news in those heavy hitter lines for us.
So with Brock Lesnar's return, obviously with his new ponytail and his beard, could we expect his new look in an upcoming release? And also with him being back under the WWE umbrella, could we expect more Brock releases from past eras as well?
Yeah, definitely the ponytail and beard look is, I don't know if I'm spilling too many beans here by saying it is under development.
I mean,
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
some of the questions, right? Are you going to do, you know, the A-list guys? Yes. You know, there's more Roman Reigns coming. Breaking news.
Yeah. And we're not just going to paint a beard on an existing Brock Lesnar head we have tooled already. We're there's fresh work in it. I've seen a first pass on the new head already, and it's outstanding, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, when he came back at SummerSlam, it was a big deal. And,
Ultimate or elite figure, Bill?
Well, that part I can't say. That part I cannot say.
I mean, it's Brock. He's an A-lister. He works he could work anywhere, right? And maybe all places. So, you know, we'll use him while we have him.
So when a wrestler, one question I'd like to ask, when a wrestler has like really toyetic gear at a pay-per-view, like we just saw Alexa Bliss, for example, wear a Chucky outfit not that long ago. Obviously, something like that, there may be more rights involved, but when something really pops and they walk out on a pay-per-view and you're like, holy smokes, do you ever move that to the front of the line for a priority release on somebody that maybe already has pre-developed tooling and prioritize kind of the development of or a really, really modern look that really strikes hard? Or is it something that still has to kind of wait its turn?
I'll answer this one. It's a case-by-case basis. For the most recent Randy Orton that we showed today, the original deco on that figure was not in white. It was in, a more standard black trunks execution. The minute he walked out in white on WrestleMania, there was sort of a realization. It's like, we need to change that Randy Orton to match this, even though he didn't. It was after the goggles. People are going to want this immediately. So that's one instance where, immediately plans were changed. A lot of it is also kind of determined by if the new look involves new tooling. It's a lot easier to change colors without new sculpting involved. If it involves sculpting, the timetable is a little longer. But definitely it is something that when someone shows up in gear that's very memorable and toyetic, it does sort of float to the top of the mind. I mean, there's been some recent examples. One in particular where I think someone showed up in something And I think they're standing in the line, went from here to probably a little bit higher.
So Paul Heyman right now is a huge part of the Bloodline storyline on TV that's been playing out on SmackDown. Obviously, he's looking a little different than we've seen him when he was accompanying Brock Lesnar. Now that he's with Roman Reigns, can we see his release with an updated look soon? He's
one of the most important characters in WWE programming right now, and it would only make sense to have an updated Paul Heyman, sometime in the near future.
A lot of people are asking for a new Elite Eddie Guerrero. I know we just got one in the Legends line not too long ago, but we had discussed the possibility of maybe a Wreckin' Lowrider somewhere there. And I know you guys had said the Wreckin' vehicles are really popular. Are we any closer to that Wreckin' Lowrider to go with like an Elite Eddie Guerrero?
I mean, I guess time makes us closer, right? Just by default. But I'll say the challenge with like a legendary talent with Wreckin' is that Wreckin' is a kid's line, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can crack the code and find an angle for that to make it a little more kid-friendly and contemporary, then it's something we would want to explore. And, obviously we've been able to do that with like the Undertaker and his version of the Slam Cycle, right? Because obviously the main version of that was Drew with the motorcycle. So we've got a nice short list of vehicles that have obviously kids appeal because it's a kids line, but that collectors will also really dig. So, fingers crossed we can figure out a way to make a lowrider happen.
So what you're saying is Dominic Mysterio, Ringside Collectibles fan, I know if you're watching this right now, see if you can come out with Eddie's old lowrider, and maybe that can happen a little bit sooner.
It would help.
Now that Ilya Dragunov defeated Walter for the NXT UK Championship, is he in line for a new Elite figure to go with the Ringside exclusive Walter?
I love the now that X, Y, and Z has happened, are they in line for a figure? I want a figure of him personally. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed that match.
What you have on the roster with names signed and folks that are on Legends deals and what you can pick and choose from, we see it with, like we said, the Elite Legends releases, the Legends line itself. Is it more difficult to get non-wrestling legend talents approved than it is to get like managerial or in-ring talents approved compared to like a managerial talent? So like a wrestler ultimately in the Legends line, is that going to be easier than maybe like a Gorilla Monsoon or a Paul Ellering or Sherry or anyone like that?
I think by default, inclusion of in-ring talent, wrestlers, it's always going to be more prominent, right? So you'll see managers or backstage talent a little more sporadically. But if we're strategic in where we include them, it's not a difficult approval process, right? To get the green light to make them, right? If everything makes sense as a whole, build a figure makes sense for a lot of people. Single releases for prominent looks make sense for some talent. So it's not more difficult. We just have to make sure when we're presenting it that it makes sense as a whole within, the umbrella of the line.
Makes sense. So as we've discussed in the past, strategy really plays an important part of this, and it just has to be the right fit, right?
Yeah. If we presented a whole wave in Legends of suited managers and announcers, I think we would probably get some pushback.
Hulk Hogan figures. So we've seen a lot of amazing Hogan reveals. Could we ever see a Hogan shirt without that Velcro tear in the front? And also, could he end up with an updated weight belt that has kind of the molded buckle in the front of that as well?
I personally, from a design perspective, I mean, in theory, yeah, we could do a non-tearaway Hulk Hogan shirt. As a designer, it's something I would tend to want to include the tearaway feature on any shirt I include on Hogan, just because it is such a prominent part of, his entrance and posability, because a lot of our figures now are used for Instagram photography. And I feel if you did a Hogan shirt where you couldn't tear it, if you wanted to use that, for still photos, you'd actually have to like cut and damage the shirt to get that pose. So I personally am a little. I would tend toward including the tearaway feature on the front on future Hogan figures. That's just my personal opinion.
Maybe I can convince Bill to include 2 shirts with a figure at some point. One tearaway and one standard.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably how it would end up being, because I wouldn't want to sacrifice the ability to do the tearaway posings. But if there are people that want to have, some posing without the seam down the front, that is something that can, obviously we're going to be doing a lot of Hogan figures.
Yeah, it'll be a nice way to refresh Hogan as we explore all these looks. So we'll see what we can do. Weight belt. I know Randy Savage has a weight belt that has like a buckle in the front and snaps in differently. So I guess as far as the weight belt goes, we'll just look for an opportunity, and if there's the right tooling budget allocated to the line, maybe that's a nice upgrade to Hogan at some point as well.
Yeah, it's mostly just tooling. Our budgets, is spending tooling dollars to change just a buckle on a weight belt compared to how else I can spend that tooling budget per year. Up until now, it hasn't really risen to the top of urgency. But if it is something that is going to make the difference between someone buying the figure and not buying the figure, obviously that does tend to cause it to rise.
And I think the thing to consider is, when Bill, in the moment of time when he makes these decisions, like what's the best use of the tooling money available, right? Is it going to be a new weight belt with a different, buckle design and snap-on execution, or is it a new head or a new accessory? And you just make those calls, in the moment as you see fit.
So Legends 10 DDP, obviously highly sought after. Could we see it again with a little more accessibility, that one in particular, or is it could be redistributed? If not, this is kind of twofold. Would it be possible to get another version that's based on maybe the Smash and Slam attire from back in the days, like that kind of flashback? Is there ever any objection to attires that are based on some of those like favorites from older toy lines? So first and foremost, that DDP. Second, the attires, where the inspiration could come from.
I think to me, that DDP from the old Toy Biz line would make sense to come next. And I do suggest things from older toy lines, because I think you immediately see it and it takes you in that time machine back to when you were a kid. You recognize that gear. And Bill, I'll let you speak to your inspiration, but we've obviously had these discussions in the past.
For using previous toys, I mean, just going back to the first Comic-Con exclusive we ever did was an Undertaker based on my favorite Undertaker figure from the previous manufacturer. So I'm always looking to to the past in terms of like what came before even us, which is now over a decade before. So yeah, I mean, again with the amount, nostalgia drives a lot of adult toy purchases and children's toy purchases nowadays even. So that is something that we do consider when we're deciding. It's like, okay, which we decide on this talent for this slot, then now what outfit are we going to do? What look? If it's something that that's going to sort of like, what's the next? If it's the next logical version of that character to put out, chances are it is going to also coincide with a previous execution of that character in a lot of instances.
And as far as the re-releasing the Legends 10 DDP, I think the ship has sailed for that figure at the moment. Unfortunately, there were some weird circumstances around how Planogram was working at retail, which led it to be online only. But we will keep it in mind that there is still a little bit of demand for that figure. If there's an opportunity down the road to squeeze it in somewhere, or tweak it slightly, so you still have that version of DDP, but maybe an update, we'll totally keep it in mind. But I mean, for me, at least at this point, I think if we include DDP in the line again next, it would be a different look and not that look. Fair enough. At least in the near future.
So with the Hollywood Elite line being released, could we see more film appearance figures like Thunderlips from Rocky, possibly Zeus and Rip from No Holds Barred, or even more film versions of like The Rock's characters? Obviously, he's had so many at this point. Could we see more of that?
So that Hollywood line was just meant to be 2 waves. So as a line, it's done, after, Andre, Scorpion King, and Roman Reigns appear at retail. But as far as movie executions go, we'll continue to explore, what rights we can acquire or what rights we have. And we can sprinkle them in new lines, in existing lines, they could pop up in mainline elites. So yeah, we'll do everything we can to get the demanded looks out of all these characters.
Last question, and then I'll let you go, I promise. So we've seen a lot of great figures of China at this point. And we also saw Trish Stratus, legendary figure in the main elite line. Can we expect any other upcoming women's legends figures other than kind of those 2 mainstays that we regularly see?
Yes. Great
answer. I love it. To end on a yes is all anybody could ever ask for, right?
Yes.
Steve, Bill, thank you so much for joining us. Ringside Collectibles, Ringside Fest 2021 Q&A. It's been great not only to go over the reveals with you today, but to have our surprise guests in the other videos and also just hang out and talk figures. I really appreciate both you guys. I appreciate your accessibility and I appreciate your transparency, most of all, in talking about a lot of this. So it means a lot to me and the Ringside Collectibles crew to have you here, and you're appreciated. So thanks so much for joining us for the Q&A.
Thank you. The feeling's mutual. And once again, we got to do this in person next time.
We'll get there. We're getting there, Bill. We're getting there.
I hope so.
Yeah, our pleasure. We love doing these, but we love doing them more in person.
Almost there. All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching the Ringside Collectibles Ringside Fest 2021 Q&A. If you haven't yet, go and check out the reveal videos as well. I was joined by Bill Miekina and Steve Ozer. Always a pleasure coming from the Mattel WWE design team. Look out and follow Ringside Collectibles across all of our social media channels, talking Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you fancy. Join us on WrestlingFigs.com to jump in on the message board discussion if you're old school like me, and just come hang out with us and make it all about wrestling figures.